In Calcutta, we didn't know misogyny, mansplaining, all of that. We understood and still do the concept of being gentleman and gentlemanly.
Gentleman is actually a sexist word.
I don't think you should choose words in jargonated context to explain a point. I started by saying it's about pedigree, it's about treating women with respect without making them feel a class unto themselves. I said that in my opening comments. Yes, gentleman is what we use. I'm sorry that it doesn't stand up to the rigors of today's understanding, but I meant it from a respect standpoint rather than from a gender superiority point or a point of hiding something. If this discourse is to go further and more substantively, it cannot be a man versus woman. It must be sanity versus insanity, civility versus incivility. Because if you push this into a man versus woman debate, you will make men erect defenses which are silly and facetious. I mean, that's my limited view, but as I said, I'm no expert and I don't want to be misquoted on another
expert,
Times
so
Not
why are
panel.
you on the panel? I mean, actually, why are you on a mansplaining panel?
You ask Sanjoy Roy that.
I want to add to what Suhel.
Panel. I mean, actually, why are you on a mansplaining panel?
You ask Sanjoy Roy.
Oh, what sort of a cow move was that? His fucking egalitarian speech, you're just gonna fucking chop in there. Let's set aside the fact that he was invited. Obviously, if he's on the panel, he's been fucking put there during the preparation stages, and if you had a problem with that, you should have taken it up with the organisers. You don't fucking get in the man's face in front of a crowd. This is exactly what he's talking about. You're proving his point, you stupid moo. Oh, right, dude, don't worry. We're gonna fucking nail her. We'll nail her time and time and time again, and her fucking cronies. Dude, you might be on your own on that panel, but there's the bunkers behind you right now. I'm gonna take her to bitch school. We're gonna take her to bitch school. Take her to bitch school. Take her to bitch school.
It's time to give that whip a crack. I'm gonna have to send you back to bitch school.
Oh, somebody's trying to make India look good. India, the subcontinent shithole filled with 1.3 billion people, each earning on average $2 a day. The average wage $1,600 per year. This is the most poverty-stricken fucking place on the planet. Have some fucking pictures to demonstrate that. India, where there is such a shitty tax revenue service, the government doesn't even know how many people are in the country. India, you don't get health and safety. You get bitten by fucking cobras in your rice fields and there's nothing you can do about it because you're fucking piss poor. There's no free education. People don't even understand what India is. The people who say it's a subcontinent are probably the most accurate because every state inside India is different to the degree of which there is different vegetation. They are like different countries. And this hodgepodge shithole fucking place with 200 languages or some fucking shit like this. At one end it's a nuclear state, at the other end it's a bunch of villagers up to their fucking ankles in water and rice paddy fields. There's no free healthcare, there's no social welfare. If you're old and on your own, you are literally just fucking dying in the street. Child labour is a real and regular occurrence. Where I lived in Sivakasi briefly, a fireworks factory burned down because they had too many children in there and the little fuckers burnt it down by accident. No more child labour in the fireworks factory, but that doesn't mean it's not happening every fucking where else, which it is. Teenage marriage is still a thing, and I don't mean teenage as in 16, I mean teenage in 13. 8-year-olds getting married is still a thing in India. There's a smattering of civilized services, but it is a life is cheap, life is harsh, sewage down the streets, shite smelling fucking backwater place for the most part of it. I mean, this is a place with real problems. So for the fucking numpties who want to sit on a stage at the Jaipur Festival of Literature and start talking about mansplaining, you are already doing my fucking head in. That is unfucking believable that you would do that. There's so much corruption in India, you can get away with anything. You can go on any fucking journey. You could go from one end to the India to the other side incognito just by giving the fucking train people a little bit of backsheesh. This thing in the Jason Bourne films, you know, the powers that be are everywhere, the cameras are everywhere, where can he possibly go? Just go to India. They will never fucking find him. Go to India with $50 and you fucking bribe anyone to get you anywhere. They'll never, it will just fucking disappear. Somewhere in that 1.3 billion people, Jason Bourne is hiding, and we will never fucking work this out. That's all he had to do. You can pretty much, you can get away with an awful lot of crime in India for a bit of backsheesh as well, but it will fucking cost you. As any fucking backpacker who's been caught with their stash will know, it will cost you your fucking bum bag full of European money. And it's a painful sting, but you do fucking get away with it. India is practically lawless, corrupt fucking state. You just have to look at the roads and what's happening on the roads and the fucking truck drivers nudging rickshaws out of the way. That's India in a nutshell. So don't fucking talk to the Indian people about mansplaining. Don't bring your Western feminist values to a stage in India, because someone like me will fucking bring you down for that.
Men actually think it's a great way to hit on you, to say, really, you're a feminist, you don't seem like a feminist. It's FYI to any man. That's a terrible way to hit on a woman.
I love the way she doesn't get any of the context of a man approaching a woman and starting to chat her up, and she goes, I'm a feminist, and he's like, wow, you don't seem like one. He's trying to compliment you. I know you don't get that. You never get context. You never really understand the full situation around you. But he's basically saying you don't look like a hateful, lesbian, volatile cunt. That's what he's saying to you. You say it's not a good way to hit on a woman. No, it's not a good way to hit on a feminist, but there is no good way to hit on a feminist. So you can't swap out. It's wild that feminists want to speak on behalf of the entire female population while not realising that most of them are not like you.
And when I say, what do you mean? What about me does not seem like a feminist? Because that is deeply who I am. If there is one identity I will pick, it is I am a woman and I'm a brown woman. So what about you, what about me makes you think that? Because I'm actually...
Okay, Kat, I'm going to stop you there, mid-rant in this sort of fictitious scenario where the guy's chatting you up and you've just suddenly got in his face because he said you didn't seem like a feminist. Now you are first and foremost a woman. That's the whole fucking point. You are first and foremost a woman. A baby making machine. A pussy on legs. You are here to be nailed by a guy and give rise to the next generation. That is your biological function. And I'm not even saying that in a male supremacist way. Our function is just to provide the jizz. It's even less. We give you jizz and then fuck off. We are, as the feminist joke goes, a guy's nuts is the product and all the rest of him is advertising. It's true. But in this situation where this guy's chatting you up and you're absolutely getting in his face, you're putting your ideals ahead of your biological reality. It sounds like even if you fancied him, you're going to get in his face, you're barking at him like a little Jack Russell for no real reason here. He's just doing his, I'm a guy, you're a woman, let's fucking get it on, do it like they do on the Discovery Channel, let's fucking do it. And his wheedly way of getting there is to give you backhanded compliments and flirt a little bit, and you are sitting on your bar stool going, and you wonder why we don't like you. So feminism, flying in the face of what it means to be a woman in that situation. I'm not saying you are duty bound or even biologically bound to respond to any old guy that comes up and tries his hand at explaining how good looking you are because you're not a feminist. I'm not necessarily saying you have to drop your knickers there and then, but there's more to this situation than you seem to get. You're taking it as a sort of insult to your morals and principles and ideals, when it's not. It's just some fucking vague miscommunication in a bar somewhere between two people who really don't have any say in anything, and you've turned it into a fucking scene. If you're in it's like you're standing up in the restaurant now shouting at him, and it's like, bitch, why? What are you doing? What are you doing with your life?
Offended by that. And then they say, yes, but you don't seem like a feminazi. And then I always think, okay, so when...
That has to be the most unguarded, snotty expression I've ever seen in my life. If a camera caught me doing that, I would be ashamed. I'd be like, fuck, I need to stop putting my nose in the air and fucking chin high, eyes closed, superiority look in public because I look like an arsehole. She must have seen, why would you do that in public? You're just broadcasting what a cunt you are.
Feminism is really just about equality.
Yeah.
And it's recognizing that the playing field is not equal. And Aziz Ansari, I think, said it so well, because he said, to all those people who say, I'm not a feminist, I believe in equality, I'm not a feminist, he said, if you go to a skin doctor and, and they say, okay, I'm a skin doctor, I work on diseases of the skin, and then somebody says, okay, so you're a dermatologist. Then you don't say, no, that's too aggressive. Don't call me a dermatologist. So I think it's the same thing with feminism.
Yeah.
If you believe in equality, you are a feminist. That's what the word means.
Well, no, it doesn't, does it? Obviously. Because if that's what the word means, the word wouldn't exist. You'd use the word egalitarian instead. Feminism does mean a whole bunch of shit. It's got a bunch of tradition and vile behaviour and disruptive bullshit, and this feminazi thing has got roots. It's a caricature now, but it's got roots in your real behaviour, the behaviour of people allied with you. And feminism has got negative connotations because of the behaviour of feminism. If you want to change track, you can't cling to that sick and twisted, gnarly old tree. You need to come out and say, okay, egalitarian is actually what we need to be. Feminism is dead. That would be the way to do it. Because feminism might as well be dead. It's got its own fucking great enemy now in MGTOW. If feminism is Batman, the MGTOW is the Joker, and they can fucking go at each other for everyone's amusement. It's pointless. If you go egalitarian, then you can tackle every subject. Every time you say we're for equality, you could actually mean it. You could do something about the fact that only, fucking forgotten the statistics, 5% of guys get custody of children. 5%. You could do something about that. You could help to create punishment for false rape accusations. You're all on one side. It's not about equality. It's about sort of being dicks at this point. You have equality in law. It's done. It's over. You want about pushing it too far? Yes, you are. Because you've got nothing left to say, and yet you're still pushing, and that's the point. Be egalitarian. Now, in terms of India, there's obviously a lot of ground to be covered, but I don't quite get this sort of UN westernised way of coming at it. It's weird, the finicky bullshit you're talking about, when you could be talking about real issues like teenage marriage. I mean, in India, you can get married at any age. It's illegal to have sex with a minor, but you can get married at any age, and it's not illegal to have sex with your partner. So it's legal to have sex with a little girl, provided you marry her first. We've got, in the West, like, if you're married, you can still rape. Rape is still an issue inside marriage. If you say no, then the guy can be done for rape. That's not the case. That's not on the statute books in India. So you literally can have a guy marry a 9-year-old girl and have sex with her, and there's no laws against it. There's real issues. If you're talking about a place that is, in legal terms, backwards compared to where you've come from. So I don't get this, let's define feminism, let's talk about equality, let's harp on about the whiny shit that we harp on about in the West and expect to be heard.
I'm a journalist and writer, and some years ago I undertook an idea for the Telegraph in the UK, which is actually quite a right-wing newspaper. I can't believe I got away with it, really.
Shall we pretend that your Machiavellian arse has been a rebel all along? What a load of shit. If you're writing for the Telegraph, you are a fucking fully paid up member of the establishment. You are institutionalised. You are not a rebel. You can't even fucking pretend it.
The idea was to become a man for a day, and I was taken under the wing of a noted drag king, so a woman who performs as a man. And a short film was made about it, but I was basically trained to manspread, to fill the space. I physically changed. I had stubble put on my face, my breasts were bound down, and a large pair of socks were placed here. And this is all very funny, but I must say, I enjoyed it tremendously. And what it taught me was that it's fantastic to own the space and to be loud and to fill the space. And it's a wonderful thing to own that privilege. And why would you not want to have that privilege? So it gave me an insight into how great it is.
No, it hasn't given you insight at all. What you've done is the classic caricature portrayal. Like, you talk about your drag king, a woman that pretends to be a guy. Well, if you look at drag queens, you look at all the guys pretending to be women, your typical cross-dresser or transvestite overcompensates. They are overly femmy, they're overly soft, overly emotional. They don't actually seem like women at all. And most women are not hugely different from guys anyway, on a day-to-day basis. The women you walk into are not giggly, silly, hysterical, overly feminine things. They're kind of just sexier versions of guys, basically. You don't tend to get that. So when you're talking about playing the part of this man with his man spreading and shouting and owning the space and all this, you're playing the caricature. You're overcompensating from the feminist stance, going ultra macho by the sounds of it. And we don't all do that. What you call man spreading, which, like, our nuts are between our legs, so we don't fucking crush them with our own legs. We sit with our knees apart. I can't believe you want to make an issue out of that. Well, if you fucking sit with your legs spread, we'll call you a whore for it, but fucking do it if that's what makes you happy. No, you haven't got insight. Because most blokes, where you can't fucking go in. You talk about this train ride, this train carriage scenario. Most blokes go in there. You have to be stronger than the rest of the pack, especially if you're on your own. You might sit down, man spread, you might shout, but the chances are you won't. Most of us don't. You don't walk into an unknown area. You don't walk into a politically uncertain area. You don't walk in on someone else's patch, into someone else's gang, and fucking occupy the space. If you do that, you're asking for trouble. That's the other side of this. For man, if you want to throw your weight around constantly, you will be challenged constantly. And it's as simple as that. There's a limit to how much fucking in-your-face brashness a man can get away with. You have to be very powerful individual, and that's where you get the whole alpha male thing from. And even that you can take too far. An alpha male that doesn't take on board the feelings of those around him will pretty soon find themselves a lone wolf. If you don't respond to the needs of those around you, you're fucked, you're out, you're on your own. So no, you don't get to do this all the time. You can have stubble and spread your legs, but you don't get to own the space. You don't get to mouth off in every environment. You will get smacked about if you do that too often, or you'll become a sort of localised king figure. But the thing about being a localised king figure is that you'll have to smack the other people about for doing that in your presence, and sooner or later somebody will come and smack you about for doing it. You're looking at a different area. Women you want to hide behind. It's almost like you think there's a glass partition sometimes. It's alright to be as cruel and fucking horrible to other people. You can be as scathing, as venomous as you like. You can try to hurt people's feelings with words. That's okay, there's no upper limit on that. But if somebody punches you in the face, then you're like, oh shit man, that was sexist. Well, we've got a discrepancy here, haven't we? If somebody is wittier, more intelligent, louder, speaks faster, and is more abrasive than someone else, and they use all of those talents to humiliate them and insult them and make them feel like crap, Why isn't that bullying? Why is that not a form of bullying? Now let's find this situation where we've got the mouthy, witty, sharp person who's willing to humiliate for no particular reason, and we've got this other person. Let's say that the mouthy one's a woman and the other one's a guy. Then the guy's going to have to take it. Women, this is where I say that you think there's a glass partition, so it's alright to use every fucking advantage you have to try and make someone feel like crap. If the guy didn't have any power, he would just be taking it endlessly. But in the situation, the guy is usually stronger. He's got this one fucking ability more than the person who's sharper, wittier, more abrasive, more cruel. He's got this one fucking thing. And in the situation where he's had the bullshit heaped on him and he lashes out, then you're like, oh, that's not fair. Really? By what measure is that not fair? You claiming it's sexist, but it is sexist to think that you can fucking mouth off at a guy endlessly and for there to be no recourse whatsoever. You're like, oh well, he's too stupid, or he's too quiet, or he's just not witty enough, he doesn't have the charisma to carry it off, he can't argue his case. Well, that's too bad. You say that's too bad, we'll just fucking keep laying into him, and he has to put up with it because he's stupid. He's a stupid numpty and he fucking deserves it for some reason, because he deserves it simply for the fact that you want to give it to him. And now if this fucking numpty lashes out, you're like, no, we'll cry foul on that. I think people instinctively know that there's something a little bit more involved in this, because woman beating is on the face of it a cowardly act. But it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's triggers and all kinds of shit. There is context, and there is a big, massive wad of context that you never talk about. 1/3 of all marriages has domestic abuse in it. And that's mostly, that almost exclusively that's the guy who's hitting the woman. But it's not about men and women. It's about physical strength and weakness. They're not fucking hitting them because they're women. They're hitting them because they're weaker and they can get away with it in that moment. It's odd that the bloke who does that, bloke who smacks his wife because she's there, because she's annoying him. He's probably got other pressures on him, but he does that because she's smaller and weaker, not because she's a woman. He doesn't go out of the door, go down the fucking road, he doesn't barge his way into the bank and go, you know what, I've had a really bad day, my wife's pissing me off, I'm going to take on the bank manager, punch his fucking lights out because that's what I've always wanted to do. They don't do that. Why don't they do that? Because there's too much risk. There's no risk involved in punching someone who's not strong enough to defend themselves, and that's why it's so easy. You don't want to be looking at all men should treat women equally. No, you want to be looking at our society to say, well, there's an animal instinct still inside us that sort of says it's okay to smack someone who can't defend themselves. We know it's not right. But if 1/3 of marriages in a room of any, if you're in a room with 6 married couples, 2 of the people are being battered at home, 2 of the people are doing battering at home. It's on such a massive level. Yeah, everyone's slagging it off, but it's not even right. The people doing the slagging off, statistically speaking, must be doing it at home as well. Do you know what I mean? The problem is so massive. It's not about men and women. It's about biological impulses and sort of animal violence in our genes. Now, to address that, you can't just start saying respect women and don't smack them. There's a much deeper issue here, and you're fudging it. Your bleating and whining is fucking it up. It's a huge problem that applies to everyone, and you'll see it in women as well. Women bully weaker women. Humans have got a bullying instinct, and they're fucking unleashing behind closed doors. To 1/3, 1/3 of the fucking population are doing it. So no matter what they're saying, they're fucking doing it behind closed doors. So no, you're fucking talking about your caricature alpha male stance on the bus would not last. You'd get your fucking head kicked in sooner or later, and then you'd be like everyone else. You'd be a little bit more cautious. But this thing, what they talk about, fucking guys throwing their weight around like this, doesn't apply. You don't get away with it, or only for a little while. But then behind closed doors, people are getting away with it. And if you're fucking standing there going, it's great, and we've got this primal fucking enjoyment out of owning my space and being domineering, well, maybe think about that. You're actually fucking providing the answer. You're saying you can feel it yourself. This is just one more step to say, if I was bigger and stronger than my husband, I'd knock him around. You literally were that close. You're being the same animal when you say it's amazing to live like this and to enjoy these privileges.
To have that physically dominating persona and to be loud and to own a space. And I think the awareness of that is quite an important thing, because we're not here just to have a pop at men and just be mean, but men, generally speaking, are, likely to dominate a conversation in a way that you will see again and again at festivals, on the news, and in your homes. It's something that we all see.
I need to chime in and dominate this moment, but not just to be a dick. This thing about mansplaining as well is this word is absolutely stupid. Mansplaining, what they mean is patronisingly telling someone something that they probably already know and laying it on a bit thick. They're talking to them as if they're stupid, or talking down to them. Or even if they don't know what it is, if you're informing them about something, it's condescending and patronising in your delivery of the information. It's not a man problem. I've been patronised and talked down to condescendingly by more women than men, I should think. That's what I would say. Men wouldn't dare to do it. We're back to the throwing your weight around thing. You can't, man to man. I mean, we'll take this fucking angry guy who say he's so angry he wants to smack his wife around, but instead he goes out and tries to find a bodybuilder to have a fight with. No, they don't. They don't do it. Why don't they do it? Because there's too much risk. Again, physical risk with your bodybuilder. He's probably going to hit you hard enough to cave your fucking skull in. Some people are saying it's cowardice, and it kind of is. But when we talk about this patronising, you wouldn't patronise the bodybuilder. You wouldn't patronise your bank manager. You would talk condescendingly when you can get away with it. And it's only arseholes who do it. And it's arseholes of both sexes, men and women, who talk down to the people around them in a condescending, patronising way. So this word mansplaining, you've created a word that is sort of pointless. It's a broken word. If you're going to have mansplaining, then we're going to need another word to identify the women that do this. We've already got the word. It's patronising or condescending. You can use the words that already exist. Say we don't like it when men do it to us. I bet you don't like it when other women do it to you. I don't like it when women do it to you. Not many men do it to me because I'm quite big in the real world. But that's the thing. With old men do it to us because they can get away with it. I went back to this animal instinct thing. They don't do it to bigger blokes. They don't do it to their boss, let's say. Someone's got a female boss. They don't do it to them. It's a sort of a weedily animalistic sort of thing. And it's something that you either accept it as part of the species, or you start to say, well, let's live to higher values than this. Let's live to a better standard than our biological impulses are telling us to do. Or, well, be realistic. Can we do that? And if we do that, if you want to enact that, are there ways of going about it that trigger the instincts to go even worse? Probably. And now, railing on people, insulting them, pulling them out, segregating, and then hacking on, coming up with a word like mansplaining, do you think this is going to trigger some of that primal shit that is a problem in the first place?
So I want early on to make the point emphatically that mansplaining isn't just a kind of hashtag like jokey, lightweight thing. It's actually a very serious issue.
Not as serious as child labour in India. Not as serious as kids dying in the workplace. Not as serious as not having no welfare and old bastards puking in the street, keeling over and starting to die on the floor and nothing being done about it, which I've actually seen. Not as big a problem as having sewage trickling down either side of the streets, because that is actually your sewage system. Not as big a problem as 23% of your population being below your home level poverty line. Not by the World Bank, not according to fucking England or the UN, according to fucking Indians who polish the figures up a little bit to try and make themselves look better. No. Compared to these real problems, mansplaining is nothing, is pathetic and stupid and not worth talking about.
And it's been given this label. It's important to label things which are problems. Mansplaining is a label for a very, very common experience, perhaps the only experience which is common both to Hillary Clinton and a teenage girl in Bihar. We've all been talked over and kind of crushed in conversation and had people occupy that space. So
You're talking like it never happens to other men. With these guys who routinely shouting you down and dominating your conversations, how do you think they're interacting with other guys? One or two of them might be fucking cowardly weedles who never actually do it to other men, but some of them, most of them, if they're doing that to you, they're doing that to guys. Especially if they've got a hierarchical advantage over them or a size, physical presence advantage over them. It's happening to guys as well. You're not talking about men, women. You're talking about humanity. A problem with there's natural bullying types of behaviour. That's what you're talking about. But because you're so fucking stupid and blinkered, you haven't identified the whole problem. You're just whining about it being the way blokes treat women.
Anuradha, Anuradha is a international chess champion and has had an incredible story which she's documented in a book that's available in Hindi right now and making great waves.
Yeah, but is she any good at making me a sandwich?
So I was born and bred in rural Haryana, and this is where 75% of India still lives in rural areas. Misogyny or love for a male child, and there could be various reasons for that, is so much that a girl child is never welcomed. When my sister was born, second child in the family, my dad received consolation messages. It's all right, it's okay, you still have time, there are only two girls. So when you're born and you're born with this, there's no welcome, there's no joy in your presence. And this is an indication of what is to come next. When your parents are told, so there is in Hindi they say, so kharcha paida ho gaya, or so there is an expense now, or there is this boj, there is this responsibility that has come to your family, and this leads to genocide of baby girls, misogyny. This is what it leads to. It's a small thing when you look at it individually, like just one thing, I just want a male child, but on a larger context, it leads to killing of baby girls.
Certainly there's a lot to talk about.
Certainly there's a lot to talk about. The point she just made had a gravity of gajillions order of magnitude more important than the shit you're talking about with mansplaining. The point she just made covers an entire fucking gamut from, unloved babies, you're talking about lifelong self-esteem issues and shit like that, to is a reflection of economic pressure in a way, in a society where the girl can't do as much work as the guy, and in really old-fashioned terms around the Industrial Revolution, starting off where manufacturing was heavy hard work, where working down the pits wasn't really the place where a woman would want to be, in a society where it's difficult for the woman to fend for herself. Then the family we got this in ancient England, it was in ancient China, but to find it in modern India doesn't quite make sense. She's talking about a real fucking problem, a perception of being poorer, for the family being poorer, for having a daughter. Why would that even apply in India? It's a mixture of economic failure and educational failure, and we know they're both there. Both these things, this is what I fucking mean by India has real fucking problems, and this is where it's lacing in. We've got one, right, we've identified this is a major fucking problem, and it leads to people murdering babies. This is all lumped in together. What she just said there is very fucking important. It's very fucking tragic. It runs the whole gamut of interest and immorality. It's where the real world interfaces with, our ideas of how we would like the real world to be, and shows the real world to have a very, very ugly side. People murdering babies for financial reasons, their own fucking babies. It puts mansplaining in the shade. And for you to say, well, there's a lot to talk about after that, is fucking ridiculous.
On a positive note, we've also seen in recent days this incredible collective solidarity with these women's marches, for example, in the US and worldwide. I think with the, you were associated also with the Hillary campaign, which, well, that didn't go so great, but in terms of the struggle, the way the conversation started coming up into the mainstream again, and I think that's also important for people to have the vocabulary to say, hey, you know what, she's being judged unfairly for being a woman. All of the hashtags, though we laugh at them sometimes, it adds to the conversations we're having.
Yes, thank you, Amrita. And, this is really important for us to remember that Hillary lost not because she did not get the vote. She lost because there was outright rigging in the elections.
You fucking moron. Yes, it's an electoral college system. That doesn't mean there was rigged elections. The candidates know it's an electoral college system before they run for office. They know where the important places are. That's why they choose almost like tour dates where they go and work these specific areas and they miss some out. They miss some out because they're either too far gone from them to be gained or they just don't matter. They're looking for the biggest impact of electoral college votes. That's the whole fucking campaign is geared towards working that system. It's not a rigged system, it's just the fucking way it works.
And every precinct where the electoral colleges were moved around, there were 10 or 15 votes which made a difference.
They call that moving the borders around ahead of an election so that you get a better spread for your party's votes. And more seats per vote. They call that in England, they call it gerrymandering. But you can't gerrymander unless you are the governing body. The only person who could have gerrymandered ahead of that election was Obama, who was fucking Hillary guy. So the only gerrymandering that took place ahead of that election would have favoured Hillary Clinton.
And she actually won by 2 million votes. So the popular vote, and that's the number of votes that people cast. And that's really important to know because the entire campaign was organized around a misogyny. And the people who voted for Trump actually feared female authority more than they feared Russia or China.
That level of political analysis, that level of pure assumption and conjecture, speaking on behalf of however many, 60 million people she's speaking on behalf of now. Speaking on behalf of 60 million people in those terms is fucking disgusting. All you're doing is projecting your idea of the bullshit scenario that you think just happened onto those people. And it's fucking insulting. That's patronising. That's mansplaining. That's being a dick. Was putting out an opinion which has no basis in fact whatsoever. There's no support for what you're saying. You've taken the bullshit, not even the real media reports, you've taken the bullshit that's sort of around the edges of real media reports, and then saying that people are responding to that, and it's all about misogyny. No, it fucking is. I know what's coming up. You're going to mention the pussy grabbing thing. It's coming up. I know it's coming up. Even that. You're fucking wrong. The pussy grabbing president thing is basically this old piece of footage of Donald Trump walking around with some lads and, well, some guys fucking didn't realise his thing was plugged in, said something about grabbing a pussy, and he's laughing with his guys. It's some fucking ancient piece of film. It was nothing to do with the campaign trail. This thing got released. You're all like, oh, he's a pussy grabbing president. The point of the brutality of what he's saying, the reason they're laughing is because it's inappropriate. They're not laughing because it's real. He's not grabbing a woman by the pussy. How long can you keep that grip for? And it's not like he's got a fucking handle on it, especially if she's wearing jeans or something. You can't really hope to keep hold of her that way. It's not real. It's not realistic. They're laughing because it's satire, because it's rude boys' camp humour. Grab her by the pussy. They're not a solemn face. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's not a serious thing. Yeah, grab her by the pussy. But of course. Just do that. That solves all the problems. That's not the mindset. You're thinking, oh, they're joking about it. It sort of legitimises it. No, it doesn't. It's the opposite. If you're joking about it, it delegitimises it. You're not supposed to grab people by the pussy. That's the fucking point. That's why it's funny. Don't be such a dick. Don't project this fucking idea that everyone is misogynistic, including the women. It's going to come up in a minute that 52% of white women in America voted for Donald Trump. That's going to come up. We're going to call them misogynists, are ya? 52% of white women are misogynists because they didn't vote the way you wanted them to. No, you're missing the whole fucking point. You're missing the point of democracy. You're missing the point of debate. And you are sure as hell missing what these people believe in.
And this goes back to where does misogyny come from? It starts from when we are born, because that's the time when we learn that, it's all right for one class of human beings to order and one class of human beings to obey.
This is fucking shocking. India still has a caste system. And now a lot of people might go, what the fuck is a caste system? A caste system is a sort of unthinkably weird thing to Western minds, to modern minds, to modern liberal democratic minds. A caste system means that depending on the family type that you're born into, depends on your status. You can be born into a slave type caste, or a aristocratic type caste, or a middle class type caste. It's like our society breaks down into these broad, we can say there's wage slaves, there's a middle class, and there's the aristocracy or the leadership. We can say our society breaks down into these classes by virtue of economics, by economic inequality, by the relative economic wealth of the people within these classes. It's just a way of observing or labelling what we can see in our society. But in India, you can be born into one of these fucking things. You can be born into the untouchables. Now, the untouchables is not what you might think. Untouchables sounds brilliant, doesn't it? Untouchables must be above the law. They're untouchables because even to touch them brings doom and bad luck upon your family. Even if their shadow touches you, it's bad luck. These people are they're just born into like a demon status. You're born into the wrong family, and there's just nothing you can do. I mean, in modern India, an untouchable might work in a shop. They can't touch you with the money. You can't. You have to put the money on the table, and then they'll pick it up. They play the game themselves. It's not like they're going, oh, fuck it, I'm an untouchable, but let's break the rules here. They play it. It's drummed into them. They're an untouchable. The people around them fucking hate them. Will not touch them. Will not go near them. Won't let their shadow touch them. That you would say, okay, it doesn't exist everywhere. Like I said earlier, there are civilized pockets of India. But there are fucking untouchables in India. The caste system still exists. This idea of people are born into a shitty situation, again, you relate your Western values to the Indian problem. The Indian problem is multifaceted, is much bigger, much more involved, and it involves men and women. This is a whole different fucking scale of issues, and the Indian people present should be fucking telling you about this.
Trump's campaign was targeted at Hillary in a way where he was saying things against her as a woman. And that was what was so troubling. He was saying, he talked about grabbing pussies, he talked about sluts, he talked about her dress code, he talked about the fact that she was a nasty woman. Think about the words, bitch, slut, nasty. These are words which are expressions of a misogyny.
I don't think these anti-women insults are a sign of misogyny. They're just the shit that people say. It's like, slut, bitch, whore, all this stuff are insults designed to be levelled at women, or insults that are typically levelled at women. But there are just as many for guys. Bastard tends to be a guy-only insult. Asshole tends to be levelled at guys rather than women. If you're going to call someone a cunt, really it's to a guy. It's a weird thing. It's kind of rude to call a woman a cunt, but rude in a sort of inappropriate way. If you're insulting her, call her a fucking whore or a slut or something like that, or a bitch. This is what we've got. We've got two branches of insults because we like to insult people, and we like to insult people based on their characteristics. If you've got a ginger-haired guy walks down the road, yeah, damn, definitely, you red-headed carrot-top twat. You know what I mean? It goes to the thing that you can see, and if you can pull some sort of shitty thing out of it, then more's the merrier. Hence, a woman becomes a slut. Well, Hillary's not a slut. She doesn't sleep around. Her husband sleeps around. And that's what makes her the opposite of a slut. You still call her a slut. I call her a criminal bitch. Why is it a bitch? Just because, you know, she has to be a fucking bitch. That's what she is. There are plenty of choice words about Donald Trump as well. But it's not because he's a man. It's because he's an arsehole, you know? It's not because Hillary's a woman. It's because she's a criminal class, politically astute, weederly cow who's got away with murder for so long. That's what the hate is for. It's not because she's a woman. You'll call her a bitch. She's a woman. It's easy to call her a bitch, but she's a bitch because of all the hideous, criminal, lying, weederly fucking cunt that she is. Do you know what I mean? It's not because she's a woman. You use the female insults because she's a woman, but you're not insulting her because she's a woman. It's in the eye of the beholder.
I'm no expert like most of you are. My worry is threefold. Number one, what is going to make this change happen at the real grassroots, where there is still all this happening? Number two, when will we make our laws more stringent? I'll give you an example. I work with an outstandingly bright human being called Riya Sharma, who runs this foundation called Make Love Not Scars, which is about people who've had acid thrown on them, you know, spurned in love or spurned love or whatever. We have no laws which punish the perpetrators of such attacks. And finally, I believe if this discourse is to go further and more substantively, it cannot be a man versus woman. It must be sanity versus insanity, civility versus incivility. Because if you push this into a man versus woman debate, you will make men erect defenses which are silly and facetious. I mean, that's my limited view, but as I said, I'm no expert, and I don't want to be misquoted on another Times
so
Not
why are you
panel.
on the panel? I mean, actually, why are you on a mansplaining panel?
You know what you should have done at this point? You should have done this.
Bitches leave.
No, right, that's a bit extreme, but you should have done this. He should have done it all over the stage, from left to right to left, swinging his arms. Even more than that, he should have been swinging him up over his head and crouching right down so his ass is nearly scraping on the floor. Big booty bitches, and your big booty bitches, we got big booty bitches. And then when he got to the other side, he should have started mixing it a little bit. He should have brought in my channeled Neolithic man, mixed it in a little bit. We got a big booty bitches. I say bollocks, it's talking bollocks, it's talking big booty bitches, talking bollocks, she's talking bollocks. We want a big booty bitches, there's a big booty bitches, talking bollocks, it's talking bollocks, it's talking bollocks, it's talking bollocks. We want a big booty bitches. That's what he should have done.
One big booty bitches, big booty bitches, we want big booty bitches, big booty bitches, we want big booty bitches, big booty bitches, we want big booty bitches, big
booty bitches. And then when he got to the other side, he should have started mixing it a little bit. He should have brought in my You should have brought in my oh God, I've forgotten what it was. You should have brought in my I'm in a brain fucking drain.